Hi, I'm Jenae McKnight. I'm your host today for Agape Learning Podcast. I would just like to talk to you today about the remedies for teacher burnout. Yes, this episode is all about the teachers. It's all about what is going on with our educators in society in today. Are you an educator right now? Do you feel burnt out and it's only September? School has just started and you already feel burnt out? Well, this is the resounding voice of so many educators at this time. And so, one of the things that we have found about this is that over 44% of K through 12 educators, according to the Gallup Workforce Study in February of this year, they say over 44% of educators already feel burnt out. And so that was back in February. And so now it's even worse as the school year continues on. And so, according to We Are Teacher staff, 80% of educators say that burnout is very serious for them at this time of year. And so the thing is that we know these are high numbers for educators to be burnt out already, and we still have a whole nother quarter to go. We still have we have several quarters to go, and we still have quite a bit of time to be educating the students of today. Another thing is that 55% of these educators are ready to leave the profession earlier than they had planned. So that means people are ready to early retire, or they're ready to totally change professions altogether. And that can be a serious problem because then we will have an even greater shortage of educators. Another 78% are saying that the low pay is also a serious problem. And so the thing is with the 78%, that's really high, of them saying that these are low pay is a problem. And so then you ask yourself, where do they get the money? Can they get the money from the government? Where can school districts get the money from? Can they get it from grants? How can they get more money into teachers' hands? And that's a question that needs to be answered for educators. Where is the money at? How can you get the money to teachers so that they can live better lives because they do so much for our children? They put out so much energy for all that they have to do in the workforce. And it's not to say that they do more than other people, but teachers deserve greater pay. That is definitely for sure, because without teachers, there's no other profession. Another thing is that 80% are doing more work because of unfilled positions. It's a teacher shortage. It's a drastic shortage. So when people don't come to work, when you don't have enough people to fill positions, guess what? That means the other teachers that are coming, they're overworked. So when they're overworked, it automatically makes them feel more and more burnt out, because then they're not really getting a lunch period. They're not necessarily getting a planning period. They don't have any time to really woo-saw and recollect themselves, because they're just going from class to class to class to class until they can go home. And then when they go home, they don't even want to hear about education or about teaching. They just want to lay down, enjoy their family, and totally detach from work. And so it used to not be like this. It wasn't always like this, but now it is. And a lot of it has to do with because of everything that has happened because of the pandemic. With the pandemic, it brought about a lot of different student behaviors, because 76% of the educators say that it is student behaviors that is a serious problem in their schools. Because when you are an educator and you have prepared your lesson plans, you're excited about teaching a lesson for the day, and then you only get to class to where literally 90% of your time in the classroom is managing behaviors that at one point we would say this should have been taken care of at home. Parents should be the ones responsible. But now we have so many diverse situations in homes. Some children are homeless. Some children are raised by grandparents. Some children are raised by aunts and uncles. Some children are in foster care. All different, household situations causes a lot of different problems in the classroom, mainly because there's no consistency with how students are being raised today. And so the thing is that we become the parents, the educators become the parents, and we have to set standards. We have to discipline the children. And so discipline, there must be progressive discipline so that students know that there are consequences to their actions, but then also they must be loved so that they can feel open, they can feel that they can change their behaviors or that they're going to be forgiven for their behaviors. Another thing is that adults have to be adults. Adults have to stop holding grudges against children for days and for weeks and things like that. Yes, give them space so that they can realize they're wrong, but don't hold grudges and don't keep children where they are still feeling guilty about something for months and years, and you keep bringing up the past of what they've done. None of us are perfect as educators. None of us have done something and not needed forgiveness in our life. So we have to extend that same forgiveness to our students. So that's what I would say as far as with the behavior. A lot of times we have to look at what we are giving as educators, and then we have to change what we're giving so we can stop what we're getting. So again, be the adult in the classroom with that student, and that might help with some of the seriousness of the behaviors. But also, lack of respect from the parents and the public is another serious problem, and that's it. 76% of educators say that that is a problem. And so if that is a problem, then that's the same thing. Again, we have to figure out what can we do to meet with our parents more, to get our parents to come out more, to build relationships with our parents, with our community, because a lot of times, yes, the parents and the community, they come, at the educators, they, sometimes they feel like their child is not doing anything wrong and it's all the educator's fault. And again, a lot of this is simply educating adults. We have to educate the teachers, not the teachers, but we have to educate the parents so that they are informed more. Because I think a lot of times the situations happen because parents, if they're not informed about what your policy is, what your expectations are from the very beginning of the year, then how can you expect them to enforce expectations at home with their kid for school that they don't know are expectations for school? And like I always say, never assume anything. Never assume that parents know how their children should behave at school. Never assume that kids know how they should behave at school. Sometimes you have to start from scratch and you have to teach them everything that you expect for them to do in your schools. So I know this is sounding like I'm kind of on both sides of the fence, but I know there's a lot of things that happen in schools, and I stand by sometimes and I watch these things happen, but sometimes it's on both sides. Sometimes, yes, it is definitely some things that students should have learned at home. But again, we don't know what all home situations are. So therefore, we become the parent. We become the one that has to teach them this. So what are our expectations? What guidelines have we set? What have we put out there and made sure that every student is communicated this by every teacher, by every administrator in your building? It has to be a sequence. Everybody has to be on one accord when they tell their students what the expectations are. And if it's consistent enough, students will pick it up and they will begin to follow those directions. Also, there's some solutions that we have that I want to share with you to some of these problems. And I've kind of been sharing a little bit about them along the way. Another thing that's a problem, though, is the large class sizes. Gone are the days when you can have 15 to 20 students. Even 25 is not bad. But when you start at 30, 35, 37 kids in a classroom till kids are sitting on the floor, literally, and this is the case in a lot of our public schools, as well as even, I'm not sure about in our private schools, but even in some of our charter schools, we have so many students in a classroom, it's overloaded that literally kids are sometimes sitting on the floor because there's so many students in the classroom. That is a problem. That is a problem. Educators, we can only reach so many children being alone. That's why one of the answers to our problems is that we need to hire more support staff. Now, you can have 35 kids in a classroom if you have a teacher and you have a support staff. So we need to start really trying to recruit more support staff people, recruit some grandmothers, recruit some aunties, some uncles, family members, let them come on in and, ask them, hey, can you volunteer? Can you do some volunteer work and just sit in the classroom? We just need an adult presence, because sometimes when there's large classes like that, there's so many kids in a room, you need more eyes on the kids to make sure that they don't get off into mischief, they don't get off task, that they are staying on task and doing their work. Because now more than ever, students need to be focused, they need to be doing their work, they need to make up for these gaps that we have from the years that we missed because of the pandemic. So that's one answer to how we can, maybe stop some of this teacher burnout, is to hire more support staff. Number two, we can advocate for more pay for teachers. Whatever it is we have to do, whether we have to write letters to the Indiana or to whatever state you're in, to the government, we need to start writing letters. I know some teachers are striking. I'm not going to advocate for that, but that's some people's, answer to that. They choose to strike. They choose to go and try to make sure that they get more pay. Again, I am not advocating for that, but I am saying that that's what some teachers choose to do. Also, some places we also need to hire more psychologists and more counselors, because our students a lot of them are trauma induced. A lot of them have trauma. They have a lot of different things that are going on in their lives, way more than we had when we were coming up. And so some of these students really just need some good sound advice from a good counselor, a good psychologist. They need to really be able to just vent and talk and get some things off of their chest. Some of them really need counseling to help them to not think bad thoughts about themselves or about doing self-harm to themselves. So students need these services. So more of those people need to be hired in our schools. I believe strongly that every school should have at least one counselor or more, or they should have psychologists in their building, because our students are in need. Another answer is that we should hire more behavior specialists, more people that specialize in behavior and know how to de-escalate students quickly. Because a lot of times teachers, we may go through a professional development, we may get a training here or there, but again, we are not necessarily skilled. That is not our skill set of how to really de-escalate a child, how to get a child to where they are not wanting to do self-harm or anything like that. So we really need people that's what their specialty is in behavior. And we need to make sure that they are allowed to do their job when they are in our schools, because if they're in our schools and they are never able to do their job, then that also can be a problem. Another solution is that we give less standardized tests. There is so much time that is dedicated to our tests that we have to give all throughout the year. And I understand that we must measure student growth. But the thing is that sometimes the test is stressful for students, it's stressful for the adults, the teachers, the educators. And so if we could do less standardized testing, like we did with the pandemic, how they didn't even do the standardized test, the state test for a couple of years. Again, that was a relief off of the shoulders of educators. Educators are always giving assessments of their students to find out where they are. But as far as the state assessments and some of those other assessments that we are mandated to do, they are, I know they give the state numbers, but they are a lot of times very stressful for teachers. So maybe we can try to find a way to give less of those type of tests, and that would be another solution. Also, we should also show more appreciation for the staff that we have. I know some schools do a fantastic job of showing appreciation for their staff. When you show appreciation to your staff, then your staff will want to stay. They will want to work for you. But if nothing is ever done to show the teachers appreciation, even just a kind word every day, telling them, I really appreciate you. You're doing a phenomenal job. Oh, I love how you did that. I like that. Oh, great. You know what? You need me to come and help you with that? we need to really, really work on how we maintain and keep our educators in schools. I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying how they had someone that was a principal for 16 years. Nowadays, it's almost unheard of to have an administrator stay for 16 years, but that was how it was back then. And so what did they do to keep somebody for 16 years? And that's my question. So I'm going to just throw that out there to you guys. What can you do to keep your educators, keep your principals, keep people in their positions where they are so happy, they are so satisfied with their job that they want to stay? Because children need the stability of an adult in their life, whether it's their teacher, their counselor. They need stability of adults in their lives. Every year, if they're getting a brand new teacher, even though they may be getting a new teacher, at least they've seen them in the building before. But if it's a whole new staff every year, they don't know them. It takes time for students to build relationships. So it was so much better when there were teachers that stayed for years and years so that students could get a close relationship with them. So even in 5th grade, you were looking forward to going to the next grade because you were going to have Miss Toodles for your next year. You were so excited because you're like, I'm going to have Miss Toodles. Yay, I'm excited. So you were looking forward to having that teacher. And that's what our students need. They need teachers to stay. So as administrators and people, we need to put our heads together and try to figure out what can we do to make educators want to stay. And it's not always about the pay. It's not always about everything else. Sometimes it's just about how you are treating them, how you are appreciating them, how you are showing them that you love them, that you care for them. When they're off, you check on them. Somebody gives a phone call and they say, hey, I missed you today. Are you okay? Is everything fine? Make them a card, have the kids make them a card and stick it on their door. Do something to show them that you are actually concerned. And I know a lot of times that everybody is so busy, but maybe you need to have a committee that's what they do. They notice that people are not there. If they're not there for 3 or 4 days, send them a card or give them a call, have the students make a card. Do something to show your staff that you care about them. And I bet things will turn around and they will begin to stay. So that was just my little 2 cents about, what it is that's going on with teacher burnout. And then I just gave you 7 remedies for teacher burnout. 1 was try to find a way to get more pay to your teachers. 2, hire more support staff. 3, hire more psychologists and counselors. 4, hire more behavior specialists. 5, give less standardized tests. 6, show more appreciation for your staff. I think it was just 6. It was 6 instead of 7. So show more appreciation for your staff. And I believe that will take you a long, long way. Okay, so that was all that I have for today for you all for our Agape Learning Tools podcast. I really hope that you guys continue to join us. If you have comments that you want to share, if you have questions, please put it in the chat in the comments section. We are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Anchor, and also we are on YouTube. So like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will see you again on next week. Bye.